so perfect.
Oh, okay. This can be yours, along with my dress. We'll throw it in. I first met Randall when he was a plush, and just watching him as a fellow gallerist, it's meant a lot to me. Feel free to just jump in and we'll walk around with you. Okay.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank Valerie and Emmanuel. I have admired their space for years as well. And I'm going to try to give you just a little backstory on this work. It's a body of work that came together in Mexico. 7 years ago, I moved to Mexico City. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but that journey was actually a search for my roots. And it became more apparent over time what that journey was about. I lived 5 years in Mexico City. It spreads out across the Valley of Mexico. When I moved there, it really just expanded my perceptions. I lived there for 5 years, and then a little over 2 years ago, I moved to Oaxaca. It's a really unique place in Mexico, far to the south. And this is where the part that comes in about finding my roots. I started to have these memories of growing up as a child in a rural environment, with family, with community. I reconnected to those values by connecting to the people there who live in a very localized way, who live close to nature. This show is really about the relationships that I have. I came to see by living in Oaxaca and in Mexico how the relations we have with others are really what kind of forms our identities and who we are. That's why the exhibition is titled All My Relations. This piece actually began 5 years ago in Chicago. I did a show and a performance at a space called Landing Projects that is curated by Michael Workman. And there was a performance painting that I did at the time that formed the basis for this piece. So I would tear down, I would pull the street posters off the wall. I would go to the used bookstores on Donceles, just behind the cathedral, and I would pick up old art journals. And I would take photographs of my friends and myself wearing costumes. And so if you look closely in all of these collage elements, you'll see each of those things I'm describing. All of that combined together into this collage, and then the painted elements were a part of the performance. I built this structure. The structure looks like a palette. And they said, "Did you find that palette?" I said, "No, I built it." And so I built this kind of palette structure on the back and put the collage on. Los Unaites is one way that people from Mexico who immigrate to the U.S. call the United States. Every person I know in one sense might be my sister or my brother. And so that's, I created this diptych. In a way, they function as one piece, like it's a diptych, but also separate. The next couple of works are also kind of a mirror of each other. You have this street poster that's kind of a revolutionary poster. You say you want a revolution. Well. I like the way these two works are almost copies of each other, but not quite. I may have some of the genetics and some of the ideas of my parents, but I also have my own ideas, and my children have their own ideas going forward as well. These started out as street art. It's called arte urbano. So they were street posters that fit into that kind of vibe of revolution and protest that you see a lot in Mexico and in Latin America. Oaxaca, there are protests going on all the time. And you see graffiti on the streets. And it's really interesting because you see these phrases like justicia, justice, or rebel. And you see them on the side of these old churches. So these beautiful old, like 17th century buildings, government buildings, or churches will have graffiti sprayed on the side of them. From the people in Oaxaca, They are like signs of colonialism. So they don't really see the Spanish colonial architecture the same way that we might, as Americans or as people visiting. So there's this great sense of independence in Oaxaca to where the people still feel like they have autonomy in their lives and in their land. So that's what this piece really talks about. Justicia, justice, hermana y hermano, sister and brother. This piece began in my neighborhood in Oaxaca. I'm looking at the trash heaps on the side of the road, and I found these empty concrete sacks, Cruz Azul. And so that surface becomes like a signifier for me of that way of life of the construction worker, trabajador. Estoy chambeando, I'm working. And then lastly, these pieces on this wall, they reference those textures, those surfaces of Oaxaca, that spirit of rebellion or of fight for justice. Martyr, martyr, is kind of very subtly painted there on top of these European Christian imagery. And then a couple of little playful pieces made from tin cans and collage elements. I think I was thinking of my daughter and more of the Gen Z folks with the young people with the way they use emoticons. So I wanted to create these kind of whimsical pieces that reference also how I'm getting older and I see the younger generations, the younger peoples creating their own ways of communicating, of making their own culture in their own way. And I realize that's kind of the nature of life, is that we have our own perspectives, our own generations. We give the best influence we can to those who are our children who come along, and then the world becomes theirs. I really appreciate you all coming today.